Good morning, everyone, and thank you for today's webinar. Today, we have scheduled webinar on cross-culture adaptability, working across boundaries, which has been organized by Applied Fundamentals Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. The main agenda of this webinar is to learn about the cross-cultural which would help for global adaptability, culture, and layers. I, Vaishali Natwani E. She is a leadership coach and Mitra Academy, UAE. She holds a Bachelor of Economics from Lady and a postgraduate degree in Human Resources from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She is an ACC ICF certified coach, Marshall Gold Centric coach, accredited MBTI practitioner, competency coding certificate in training and assessment from Australia. Years across sectors in India, Australia, and the Middle East, allowing her to draw experience to help clients gain new insights into their business situations. These roles have developed her understand the way people work and how to best ensure social success. She is also the Vice President of WICCI UAE Business Council of Global. It's a privilege to welcome you, ma'am, here.
Thank you so much, Vaishali, and it's a privilege for me to be here. I hope you all can see me and you all can hear. And I'm
Yes,
about
madam.
to
It's
start
clear.
sharing my screen as well.
Okay.
Is around cross-cultural boundaries and working across boundaries. I think this is an interesting topic for the students because it helps them prepare themselves for their own leadership journey. Actually, in our careers, based out of India, or we could be working in a different country. So, since this lecture is going to help prepare them for their leadership journey. And also, if some people have traveled outside India, it will give them an idea to reflect on their international experiences and what are some of the learnings that they can draw. So, and each of these three leaders have their own distinct style of leadership. So so he manages to gather a large people and remove apartheid in South Africa. He was also quite an autocratic leader. I mean, if you've heard the story or read the book or watched the movie, you would understand that Steve Jobs' team and say, I need this design by today evening or you can leave. So he was quite autocratic in his approach to leadership. And then who has leadership based on serving. So she's also called. So, and I wanted to bring because we have to understand that each of them are very different in their own context, in their own environment. So if I pick up Steve Jobs' style and Mother Teresa's environment, that may not be successful. Or if I put up Nelson Mandela's example, that may not be very useful. So why they succeeded? Because of the context, the environment, the business, the socio-political is something that I really want to stress on as we standard formula for leadership. All leaders develop their own unique approach. So, as the students, the future leaders, you embark on your path of leadership, you have to understand that you'd follow one person and say, I want to be like this. You won't just follow one person and say, I want to be like this, because you have to see what is your situation, what is your environment, and what leadership style. So, in today's session, we are going to talk about the foundational leadership around navigating cultures, cultural intelligence, and effective cross cultural communication. So, I just thought we could start with a small quiz. I wanted to hear from you whether you think these statements are true or false. One is the British like confirmation of agreements, minutes of meetings, thank you notes, and that this is true or this is false. If you could, type in the chat box, I'd like to see your response. Do you think this is true or false? Okay, that is indeed true. We have in Japan, silence shows respect for people. Is this true or false? Japan, silence shows respect for people. Yes. So when they are silent, it doesn't mean that they have agreed, but they are doing it out of respect. Respect for superiors is highly valued in Eastern cultures, such as India. Yes, it is, of course, true. The fourth one is interesting. British colleagues like to talk break the ice. Is that true or false? British colleagues likes to talk about sports to break the ice in a start of a conversation. True or false?
It's not necessary, madam, I think.
Yes.
It depends on the situation and to which we are communicating.
Okay. So it is false, and actually, the Americans start with sports when they have a conversation. The British like to start talking about the weather. In both Japan and India, relationship approach is very important to cultivating business. And the Americans are blunt, so they will say on your face what they have to say. So these are just some small anecdotes or small. But let's start talking about what is cultural identity. Okay, we all belong to a certain culture. What is cultural identity? It is the definition of groups or individuals in terms of cultural or subcultural categories. Now, I actually teach called World Cultures and Cross Cultural Leadership at SPGen. And culture is almost like our relationship with our own mothers. So every day we might why you telling me what to do. But if somebody else criticizes our mother, take it. So same is our relationship with our culture. We might say, oh, Indians are like that. In India, nothing gets ever done. But when an external something bad about India, then you will feel very infuriated and you won't want to take that advice. So this is the famous iceberg model, and you see on the surface of it, when you look at a culture, you see language, dress, traditions, food. So suppose you take a flight and you land in Paris. Now, immediately at the airport, you will start noticing these things. The language that people speak, what are they wearing, how are they greeting each other, what is it that is available for food. But deeper see are things which are more substantial, such as the beliefs, the value, the assumptions of that culture. So as we speak, we are working in global teams. So gone are the days where, the Indians were only in India, the British were only in London, or the Chinese were only in China. Today it is, and most of the people watching this webinar are going to be working in global teams if you are all. And working in global teams has several advantages, which is why, companies across the first is economies of scale. Now, obviously, when you're working in global teams, markets, and that really boosts up your business. Better lead time. Now, time zones, better lead time means that you don't have to wait till classes across the globe. It's faster. There is always somebody who is available. Skill sets, very important. You bring in diversity of skill sets, diversity of thought, which fosters knowledge sharing, innovation, and growth. Of these reasons are the reality as to why we have global teams. Choice, it is very much part of the ecosystem that we are in. Now, as a global manager, there are two things that you need to balance. Now, suppose you are or in Brazil and you have to work with the local, and suppose you work for a company like in Brazil, there are two sets of tensions that you need to balance. And is between the local and the global. So PNG headquarters will say, this is what we have decided in terms of product mix, what should be our marketing campaigns. But you also have to see now in the local market what will work. So as a multinational, you also want to bring in the local flavor. An example of a company like Kellogg's. Kellogg's for what? What is Kellogg's famous for globally? Kellogg's as a company manufactures what?
Complex.
Cornflakes, right? Across the world, they are the providers of cornflakes. See the Indian market, Kellogg's also has something called upma. Now, this is a great example in the local flavor into a global company. Now, it cannot do that unless there is a really strong influence and a really strong local market. Otherwise, they will be making different breakfast items, pancakes in one country, Arabic food in another country. So they can't do that. So they have to keep their global brand intact. But where they see a massive local in India, they are also willing to change their product mix and make something that is suitable for the Indian audience. So that is one thing you need to balance as a global leader. The second set is challenge supporting. Now, when you go to a location which is which is something that is getting up to speed, there is you have to do both thinking, but you also so these are the two sets of challenges that one really balances as a leader. Now, there are some things that are worth taking notice of so that we don't fall into that kind of trap. The first one is complexity and oversimplification. Now, culture is very, very layered, right? And sometimes we oversimplification, such that saying that country A is country B is like this. So oversimplification, that is stereotyping, and we don't. The second is understanding of the local context. Now, as you know, I'm based out of the US. Adaptability is a large luxury retail lifestyle company, and they have mixed groups of employees in their stores. So, in one particular instance, the store manager, who is from Europe, one of the employees, who was a lady from the Middle East, saying, "Can you please clean?" She said, "No, I have just cleaned it. There are no fingerprints." He said, "No, I can show you." And he took her hand and he took her to that counter. Now, this very violated. Can he touch me and take me to that counter? From the European's man perspective, he said, "What is wrong? I am in a shop, which is in a public place. I had a hand to show her where the fingerprints are." So, this is a classic nobody being really wrong, but we don't have an understanding and we make a mistake. Another common one that I have encountered was when from India. There are instances like, they see a photo of a woman on their colleague's desk and they say, "Oh, very beautiful. Is she your wife?" And gets very violated because they say, "It's my personal life. What business do you have in asking me that question?" So we need, as in the local context, very, very strongly, and so that we don't make these kind of mistakes. Acceptance of the leader. Personally, I've had a very diverse she or he is an outsider. So you have to build your credibility and acceptance. It will not happen overnight saying, "I have this qualification, I have this imagine. These are three things that I would like you to understand and consciousness, because you will be faced by this. So, what is cultural influence? Intelligent interpret ways and gestures in that person's world. Now, let's take off Jack. And this is an interesting case, so I want you to pay attention. Now, Jack, engineer in a company based out of US, and his company with a company in China for a long period of time through lengthy negotiations and dealing to open a manufacturing facility in China. So after long, finally is told that you will go now to Beijing and you will meet Chief Operating Officer and his delegation of reports. And your goal is to find very excited. It's his first opportunity to do something for his company. And he plans a 2 days the meeting with Peter Chang and his delegation. And the second day, he is supposed to visit the production. So he starts the meeting with a lot of confidence and he says, "It's a very important deal. I want to make it work." He delivers a very professional presentation and keeps asking, "Are there any questions? Are there any questions?" But nobody seems. So he's very happy that he's done very well in the presentation. But the next day, the Chinese partner was actually very displeased with how the first day went. obviously not feeling very good. What have I done wrong? I have done everything properly. Started saying it's really important. I have asked for questions. I've done a good presentation. So what is possibly wrong? So this is a company, both of them very strong individuals. level. So if you are in a, say, project team, okay, you are an IT and you, so if you are the boss, you have to go to the manager with the same status. You cannot directly talk to his team member. Emailing somebody at a lower hierarchical level than your own, then you need to copy his or her manager. If you want to approach your subordinate, get permission from the person at the level in between. And when emailing, you will typically or miss and the last name, unless they have said, you can call me by the first name. When you're working in an egalitarian society or a culture which has low power distance, you can divorce them, you can skip hierarchical levels. In countries like Scandinavia, Netherlands, Australia, US, UK, largely you can use the first names when writing emails. Now, coming to the second one, which is again very cross cultural, miscommunication happen across cultures. So this is the different and UK. So what is chips in US and what is chips in UK? Chips in US and what is chips in UK?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
How is the word chips and UK different? Okay, so I'm just going to reveal the answer because I'm not hearing responses from you, much like what we call in India, which is because, whereas what we call French fries is called chips in the UK. The first floor in the usually the ground floor in the UK. Okay, so these are some very common terms, but what I really like you to understand the difference between high and low context cultures. Low context cultures are the ones which do not have a lot of implicit understanding. Okay, so they exactly tell you what it is to be told. US, Australia, Canada, Netherlands, Germany, UK, they are all quite low context. So people will be very, very clear about what. Whereas countries which have a longer history, a longer shared culture, they tend to be more high context. So as we say, you have to read between the lines. They will not clearly tell you everything. Simple example, when you go to somebody's house in India, and you reach the house, they say, okay, what would you like to eat? And you would always say, no, no, I'm fine. I don't need anything. Really well that they will offer you something to eat. So they also know that when you say, no, no, I don't want, you are actually going to be okay. But if you say the same thing in Australia, you go to somebody's house and they eat and you say, no, no, I don't want anything, they will really believe that you don't want anything. So that is the difference between low context and high context cultures. As you see on the left are largely countries which have a lot of immigration population. So Australia, Canada, they don't have a very rich history of thousands of years. These countries are formed by people who came in from different cultures, different countries, and in order for them to communicate very, very clear. Whereas the other countries, as I just mentioned to you, they have a very rich history. So they understand in a different way, even if you don't make it very, very clear. So this is an interesting conversation. Mr. Dias, it looks like some of us will have to be here on Sunday to host the client visit. Mr. Chen says, I see. Can you join us on Sunday? Be of great help. Chen, yes, Sunday is an important day. Mr. Dias, in what way? Mr. Chen, Mr. Dias, how nice. I hope you all enjoy it. Mr. Chen, appreciate your understanding. So this is the conversation between a low context and a high. And on Sunday, there is Mr. Dias waiting with his client, and Mr. Chen is birthday candles with his daughter. Now, Mr. Dias says, but I think we discussed, and Mr. Chen, I think, I made it clear that it was my daughter's birthday and I won't be able to make it. So what I'm trying to get at is in low cultures, the way of communication is a little different. That is why the low context culture views hikes as being secretive, not being very clear, not being very responsive, because they will not say, no, I can't do it, not being able to communicate very effectively. Whereas a high context culture views low context as being condescending, patronizing, trusting, because even while you're working, there is a written argument which covers every clause. And they'll say, my God, so many you have, especially when you're working with a US company, so many clauses, don't you trust me? But from a US perspective, which is a low context, they want everything to be written down so that there's nothing left to ambiguity. Okay, so this is another class in terms of communication as you work in global teams. Now, which one amount of misunderstanding? Is it one low context with another low context, one high context, or one high context with somebody from another high context? Is B. Now, imagine that, the answer is because there are two people from high context, each of them have their own cultural language to understand. So that is where you find the most amount of miscommunication. Few non-verbal features that are very, very stark across this is touch. So in some countries, it is not okay. Like I gave you that, Middle Eastern ladies example. You have in the Arab men greeting each other, touching their noses, which is really weird in some other cultures. That is again something that you've got to understand and you've got to be accordingly. And then space. So in India, literally when we are standing in a line, we can feel the other person's breath close to each other and we are okay with it. We can travel like that in a local train, we can travel like that in a bus and we are okay with it. To Western cultures, you will see that always there is at least an arm's distance away. Now, this is indicative of not only just physics, but also people like to keep their private lives private and not share it with anybody else. Now, when I was working in Australia, I could never ask my colleagues, are you married? Do you have kids? Which are very normal conversations in Asia or in the Middle East. So the concept of space also differs both physically as well as at a psychological level. Now, There are three components of cultural intelligence. These are some of the miscommunications which occur. And now that you are going to be a global manager, and you have to cultivate your cultural intelligence. It is not something that is a choice, but you have to do it. Is a combination of three things. Your head. So this requires you to read about the culture that you're going to interact with, which is different from your own, and realize that how you view the world not be the same as what they view the world. So I remember when I first moved to Sydney, I was traveling on a train, and there was this young girl, 16, 17 years old, who was talking to her friend on the phone about how upset her mother is because she is not moving out of her house. And I found that conversation so strange because growing up in India, our mothers are upset when house, not that why are we not moving out of the house. So I realized that the problem was not with her. The problem was the way I see the world, which is not the only way to see the world. In Australia, kids are supposed to move out and start immediately when they are 16. So you recognize that your own narrative is not the cultural intelligence. So I'd like to end by saying that in facets of countries because it is a critical the global market by putting yourself out of your comfort zone. To every person listening to, I would encourage you to find opportunities where you can get out of India for an experience working in an uncomfortable environment. It will build so much of confidence in you as well as completely open up your mind. When you interact with another culture, don't start mindset that they are different, but try to find the commonalities. What are the things that are common between these people and you? That is important. And finally, ask for feedback. So if you're in a new country, you should always, not assume that you're doing things the right way. Ask for feedback about how is it that, people are perceiving your behavior. Is there anything that you really need to change? So these are some of my final tips, and you can connect with me either on Instagram or on LinkedIn. So on is diamitra_coach, and on LinkedIn it's diamitra. So I hope this webinar has been useful to you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have on what we've discussed.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your views with us.
With, especially if you are going to have an out of country placement, time is very different. So if you have a meeting at 9 o'clock in India, it is very okay to join the call by 9:10 and say, "Oh, I got late." Irrespective of levels, there's a meeting at 9, everyone will be ready by 10 minutes to 9. So there you don't want to go and you want to show yourself in a different way because it is acceptable in your country. So read about it is so you are prepared. Second, when you go there, I would say spend some time observing people. How do they behave? How do they interact? So like I mentioned to you, in Australia, it's a very individualistic culture. So during the lunchtime also, to go out on their own. They don't want to go out with colleagues and sit down for lunch. They say, okay, it's my time, and I want anybody from office. So it's their choice. You cannot ask person considered very rude, very offensive. So before you start jumping in, just observe people. Go from a perspective of curiosity. Okay, how do they behave? What are the conversations that happen? And another very important thing, which I spoke to the heart, is don't go judging them.
How will you Characterize the three things first that this should be on topmost priority one and then third one. Out of these three.
So it's yeah. So obviously the reading up or the knowledge bit and the acclimatization is something that you can do beforehand. And once you go there, the other two really come about.
Okay. And last question from does social media takes a role plays a role cross culture adaptability?
Well, I think not just social media, most of us have access to the biggest library in the world, which is the internet. So it's a free resource and there is just so much available. When we were studying in colleges, we literally had to go to the library and we had to
Yes,
look up
exactly.
books and journals and photocopy them. But today, each of the students, access of resources that are available on the internet. Some are free, some are paid. So the best investment you can make is to make use of those resources. Don't just spend time social media uselessly. But see, even on social media, there are people who are sharing powerful content. So this is a time which is really, really important in terms of how you are developing yourself, people you're engaging with, who are the people you're following on social media as well, and how you are getting influenced by their thoughts. Because, we always say that you are a sum of the 5 people in your life. Okay. So your energy levels, your ambition, your success is actually dependent on those 5 that you hang out with the most. So who are you choosing as those 5 people is very, very important as well.
Yes. I think we shall end the session here, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining with us today. This is really helpful to our students as well as faculties in future life. And Institute, Dr. Jatin Vaidya, sir, and the President of our university, Dr. Devanshu Patel, sir, for motivating and supporting us for conducting such webinars. Thank you so much, ma'am, for
Thank you
joining
so
with
much.
us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.